Well, yeah, the distinction between where my creativity ends and begins and Kimbra's ends and begins is like fascinating.
I hadn't experienced that astronomic rise. I'd experienced a lot of rises, but not to the speed and degree that it happened.
So was this one of the first times this had happened?
Yes. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Giulia and Guy, please improvise an intro to this video.
You must use the word excited 7 times in the intro. Oh, fuck, I can't count.
All right, I can count.
Okay.
Okay.
Excited. Let's roll.
Let's roll. So, Giulia, here we are to talk about each other's artwork.
Yes, Guy.
I've been having a little look at yours.
I'm very excited.
I'm excited too.
We did it 8 times. Sucked in.
Oh, it was an 8 times.
Genuinely, I'm very excited about this chat because I looked through all your work and it's damn good.
Well, I looked through all of your work and it's damn good too. And
well.
we've our friendship has existed within these walls thus far, but
Correct.
we've usually in the context of you making things and me chasing you around with a microphone, and
Which I love.
which you love.
Giulia, how are you going for time? You're halfway there.
Totally relaxed.
And now we actually get a little chit chat to learn a bit more about each other.
Also just learning about Guy's secret genius that the audience may not be aware of. We're going to have to delve because I've got some serious questions. I'd like to know about this, life of yours.
Well, shall we get into
Hell
it?
yes, you're first, sucked in.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about Guy. Take it away, TV.
I wanna settle down. I wanna settle down. Won't you settle down with me? Settle down. This is non-stop, baby. You got me going crazy. You're heavier than I am. But I don't want no other. You're my cameo lover. I'm on top of the world. See me run, see me out, see me run with the girls. I'm on top of the world. Need a break, then I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay. So, each video has a really clear, simple concept that's extremely well executed and clearly communicated, which makes it feel like a classic music video, which is really hard to do. But also, working with the same artist over time, you've managed to capture them and make it a consistent but yet still exciting thing each time. So what we're going to start with is, in terms of working with the same artist over and over again,
I'd love to talk to you about that too, yep.
talk to me about that, because I feel like you did make it feel like a series, but each one felt completely new. But you managed to keep Kimbra's personality across all of them and keep each idea clear and strong while going into a new world each time. So run me through that.
Okay. Well, yeah, the distinction between like where my creativity ends and begins and Kimbra's ends and begins is like fascinating, and I want to talk about Tones and your kind of dynamic there, because without their work, we don't exist. Like they start the whole thing, but they also require our perspective and our instincts to visualize them, because their instincts are musical, maybe not visual. So I guess I just feel very fortunate with the Kimbra situation, because she's deeply creative, boundary pushing, and super curious to kind of venture into the unknown. And I'm only really interested in the unknown. I think I only ever really make things that I'm excited to figure out how to make, So I don't know how to make the thing I'm setting out to make, which I
Okay,
think
that's
is kind
scary.
of critical.
That's scary. Yeah.
Scary, but I guess just like the other side of like scary is just
But you
like
need trust.
exciting. Definitely need trust, which happened, I would say, pretty early on. Settle Down was the first one we did together, which was the first one that played, and we were kind of bound by that first experience in that I was making my first music video. She was releasing her first single from an album
Yep.
that she'd worked on for many
Yep.
years. So I guess to figure out how to summarize, I'd say I went into music videos slightly critical of the form itself. So I'd grown up, 90s and noughties, and
Watching a lot of music videos?
not a huge amount, but them definitely being in my orbit for sure.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that I recall in Settle Down, which it sounds a bit petty maybe to be reactionary to certain things, but I think sometimes part of this whole creative expression situation is like there's a rebelliousness, and I want to talk about your rebelliousness, but music videos that I'd seen with like female singers, it was kind of like verse 1, they were in their first dress. Second verse, they were in a new dress. The bridge comes, they're in their gown. And
Yep.
one of the rules that I had tried to confine myself to for this one was Kimbra would be in the same look the whole time, was something that I decided.
Yep.
And there was also a seduction towards the camera that felt like an expectation of a musician, specifically a female musician. And so for the first, I don't know, it's maybe 40 to 60 seconds, I just have her looking away from the camera. Like I don't even get her to look at it.
Yep.
Because I was also like, fuck you.
And that's
Like-
what's the indie thing about it.
I think it
and
is,
it
yeah,
takes
it's-
away the pop edge of the immediate to camera.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
I was mindful of not playing into that I am here to be sexy for you, or to I'm not here for you, which there's nothing wrong with any of that. It just I resonated with trying to create a different tone, and the song itself is kind of a criticism on the norm of things. It's like it's I want to settle down, won't you settle down, and kind of idolizing something that perhaps we don't need to idolize, and so there is a critical eye to the way the song is written, and I think I tried to bring that into the video. So yeah, I think that then continued. Every time I made a video, it would be probably grounded in something like a bit of like a belief or something with a bit of guts, which I think is maybe the indie thing you're touching on, or something.
But the guts comes from as well. Like the guts is clear in all your work.
Sure,
because you haven't. Most music videos will flick from scene to scene to scene, and it's quite. And this one, there are different scenes. There are more scenes than your other work, I feel like, with her, because there's really, in the other one, kind of max 2 locations.
Sure.
In the columns, there's the one space, and that takes like so much confidence to do. But also, you can tell. We're not done talking about that, but what you can tell,
Okay.
and I've been directed by you, so I can attest to this, is that I feel completely carefree when I'm being directed by you. Like you've got something that says, you, like, here's the direction, but I want you to shine. And you feel it, and you're like, wee, okay, I'm going to go do whatever. And it makes, and you can see it in these as well. With the choreo, because it's kind of quite a big part of that. Did you explore that? Was that a part of your vision? Is that something that just happened? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, movement choreography related. I've kind of always loved dance and dancing in many forms, whether it's like lyrical contemporary dance to like aggressive crumping and hip hop. Like I don't really mind. I just think it's a very cool mode of self-expression, and requires like lots of work and lots of dedication. And so dance in many forms, I guess because it's music, it's a very easy get that some movement or dance might be incorporated into a video, particularly pop music. And so yeah, There's some stuff in Cameo Lover, Settle Down also with the two girls dancing at the end. And it was, I think that to the point of kind of things being clean and simple, the choreography was always quite minimal. I remember specifically here in these wide shots of Settle Down, because the camera's locked off, they were kind of all standing in the same spot, similar for Cameo Lover, like not a great deal of camera movement.
Yeah.
It was very kind of clean and rigid. And so the movement of the characters was pretty confined. I think, I don't know, music videos to me is like, I really want to make things that feel like so intertwined to the music that you cannot imagine any other visuals with the
Yes.
song. Like
But that's what makes
the
it feel
dream.
like a classic thing, and it's very hard, and it's not often that you see something that you feel like that's A, classic of that time, B, classic of that artist, and B, it is the song, which I feel like each of these have those three key kind of points, which is very hard to hit on. Like, was that considered? Is that a natural thing? Where's it? And the style itself, is that considered? Is it natural?
I think the clarity of like the ideas, I guess what I'm hearing is, it kind of feels very simple. And I honestly think that's probably just because before anything visual, I would always just write stories. And so if anything, I probably picture me as like someone that writes pictures than anything else. And so I guess in my mind, for me, whenever I'm writing something, I want the genesis of the idea to be very, well, maybe not the genesis, but I want the idea that I sink my teeth into to be really clear. And I like the idea that it doesn't have to mean more than one thing. Because like the more you sink your teeth into one thing, the more you realize it's like very multifaceted. So,
But it's much harder, especially in the music video world, it takes so much confidence to stick to one idea
to just one thing.
and do it well.
Well, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
kind. I just think it's to the question about style. I just think it is my style. It's just less is more typically, and if anything, I want to exaggerate the one thing rather than have to bring 10 different things to the table and have to juggle all of those perfectly. In a way, it is harder because it's a bit scarier. You're kind of bearing everything. You're just putting one thing and saying, is this interesting enough? But it is also simpler and more achievable in many ways because it's kind of like, all right, Cameo Lover, this is about bringing someone out of a state of despair through color, the contrast between like a feminine energy and a masculine energy, and just growing that over time throughout the video. Literally, the lyric is "Open up your heart" that she repeats. So that's what's going to happen. How do I build this through the course of 3.5 minutes? And that's all I think about. I don't want to think about anything else because that's enough. Like,
I know.
it's so enough to be like going from a
is
dark
enough, but
place to
it's-
a lighter, more colorful place. But
But
don't
it's
know.
not. But to you, you think that this is a logical representation of that, which it's not. That's your style.
yeah, I think my
Because
style is
like you could easily take that brief that you just told me and say, okay, we're starting in the rain, in the dark, there's city lights, like
Sure,
you
sure.
see every label being like, we're going to go city lights, we're going neon, we're going dark. It's like about bringing someone out of a dark place. There's a brooding single man at a bar and
Yeah, sure.
this woman walks in, like you can see, whereas your interpretation has gone like, let's pull this right back to essentially a white space.
Yeah.
There's people in black suits that then end up coloured, and she once again is in this same outfit the whole time, and the
Yeah.
outfit itself has this kind of pop indie girl thing going to it, which already is a style in itself. And like the way that that's done is like, did you consider that was a stylized approach, or was it just the only approach? I guess.
I think some of at least the styling stuff always wanted to make sure that Kimbra just felt good in whatever. I've always let the person on camera lead that. So we obviously went black in Settle Down and went immediately to something completely different, which I think is just pretty classic creative. It's like, all right, I did that. What shall we do now?
Yeah.
How do we mix this up? And she got this dress made from someone in Sydney, I recall, and it kind of had that baby doll shape still. I don't know, Kimbra is well, at least at this time, was interested in, I think, just that classic silhouette, and that nodded to something that was a little bit of the past, but still made music that had like a very intriguing contemporary quality, and she blended that somehow because she's very, very, very good at what she does. And then my style, I don't know, sometimes your style kind of can come from your own limitations, and a static camera or in this one, a very minimally moving camera probably came from trying to keep things achievable, and also just always advocating for the clarity of something and not needing any bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I do get a little bit triggered when people are perhaps trying to overcomplicate something or bring the bells and whistles for the sake of using the bells and whistles,
Not
as opposed
the artist's
to
benefit.
Yeah, the artist's benefit or the story's benefit.
Yeah.
I don't like that for myself. I think it can be quite distracting, and for when you're trying to achieve a shoot in a day or 2 days maximum, minimal distractions is the aim of the game, so that you can walk away and feel like you have enough to create an interesting 3 to 4 minute experience for the audience. So,
But also lets the music speak.
yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like when there's all the bells and whistles, every bell and whistle whittles away at what the music itself and what's making it powerful.
It definitely can, for sure. I do try to stay out of the way to some extent, and also, I guess, with music and music videos, making sure the edit feels very musical as well. So usually, like these first bunch of music videos for Kimbra were all shot on film, which required me to be very decisive. I never had more than 4 takes, and I needed to know how the piece would cut together, because it wasn't available to me to say, all right, let's get a few takes of you singing the whole song.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't an option, because we had 50 to 60 minutes of footage, and then we would run out. And so that was another parameter, which I guess then speaks to style a little bit. I do like, I definitely did like, this was over 10 years ago, the quality that film was offering up. For me, the digital stuff was not quite at this level at that time, so that was really fun, and just something I guess I learnt a little bit about at film school, and was like, oh wow, film is like, it makes me feel like I'm at the movies. Is what it felt like, and I was like, that would be a cool thing to try.
Definitely. And how was it over time working? Like each time, was there mounting pressure because you'd done a good job the previous time, and it's sort of like, okay, how do we build this? I don't want to fail this time. Like, you know?
I think probably most of the pressure was probably more self-imposed than anything. It was a very special kind of separate relationship. Once Kimbra had been signed to like a bigger record label in America, they were in America and we were in Australia, so they didn't really have the ability to be, definitely not on our set. And so that was that was beneficial, I think. So most of the time it was just me feeling like, all right, I have to up myself every time and be excited again and again and again, and ended up making 7 videos for Kimbra. The pressure, I would say, was, I think for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, and we'll bloody get to you soon. Is like,
I don't want to get to me. This is Guy's podcast. This is Guy's stick.
I just think,
Guy's mints. It's all about Guy today.
No.
Yeah.
I just think that if you're gonna make something, especially if it's like a music video and it's really just like a passion kind of project, like music videos ain't gonna give you many dollars, that you best be excited.
100%.
So every time I just needed to make sure whatever that sentiment is, whatever the idea is beneath this thing, I wanted to feel like it was true to something that I can advocate for.
Yep.
And so that even when you are absolutely exhausted or stressed or afraid, you're like, oh, wow, no, this is a cool way to tell that story. And so that's what it comes down to. I just think like, am I interested? It's like a deeply selfish but also very healthy thing, I think.
No,
where you're
it's
just
very
like,
healthy.
Yeah, you're like,
because also it rechecks how inspired you are, and when
Totally.
you realise, and it's very easy once you've been inspired by an artist to forget how incredibly inspiring they are the next time you work with them, because you've had that initial inspiration hit and
Yeah.
you're like, wow, this person is phenomenal. And
Yeah.
like then the next time you work with them, you're like, I know how phenomenal this person is, but you don't get that same. So sometimes you do need to check yourself and do need to go like, oh my gosh, no,
yeah.
first time listen again, let's go. And you
Totally.
go like, oh crap, like this is really exciting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in a way, sometimes as humans, we need a little bit of, it's like you only really fully understand how good the situation is when you might have had a shittier experience in comparison. So definitely had some of those, and that makes you further realize, wow, like working with a very special artist who has a very strong creative backbone, super opinionated, but that's totally fine.
And that's
like
good.
Yeah,
it
it's good.
challenges you. Otherwise,
Yeah, you're challenged. So it's like you have to, if your edit choices might be questioned, and you then need to present reasons as to why those choices were made, and you should have those reasons.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
Like ideally, none of our choices are accidental.
Yep.
They might be done because of practical considerations, but that's not accidental. A choice should be a choice, and it should be deliberate, and it should service something.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm very grateful. Like Kimbra and I, like she lives in America, so we don't really get to hang out, but like she's a legend, and like special kind of when you get to work with someone for many projects over many years, like it's amazing. It's
and
amazing.
you see their growth.
Yeah, so cool.
Can you knight me now?
Yes, I can. I'm not sure in which order. I know
have to
nothing.
Say, you have to knight me.
I knight thee, Giulia. Okay.
Let's talk about Giulia.
Can we actually talk about the name first, please? Back to the previous slide. We need to talk about a couple of things here.
Okay, what is it?
Does anybody spell your name correctly?
Most people don't. I've had Giulia. Giulia gets me.
Did I do it wrong?
No.
it's perfect.
You're perfect. You are fine, but it's...
No, that's why half the people in my life know me as Gigi, because Giulia Mcgauran, half the people know me as Giulia, because I did give up after a period because it was people would, after somebody tried to introduce me who I'd known for a year, and we were at a party, and he was like, oh, this is good, and I was like, Gigi, like just don't worry about it,
Gigi.
sweetie, like it's good.
Okay. I mean,
But yeah,
it's-
so Giulia. One of the most common names in Italy, but let's just roll with it. It's
Oh, it is. So it
it's
is common
Giulia.
in Italy.
Extremely common.
This spelling.
Yes.
Okay,
My
got it.
sister named me. She was 3.
Okay.
They said, what do you want to call your sister? She said Giulia with a G. And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are, ready to talk about some of your creativity. So,
no.
I want you to tell me the story behind your signature painted backdrop portraiture. Roll the tape.
Oh. So I collaborate with my partner Zach a lot.
Okay.
He's phenomenal, and he paints with his left hand, and we did this collab on the right together quite early on in our relationship. We're married now.
Cool.
And I remember I'm quite... I don't know, controlled in the way I naturally go to paint things or draw things. I did a drawing degree. I liked lines straight, all of that. I met Zach and we did this collab. So he's naturally right-handed, but on his left hand, or on his right hand, he doesn't have fingers. He's got a thumb.
Okay.
So he paints with his left hand, which is not his natural hand. And it means that he's got this style that is really almost punk because it's so cool. And I was like, let's do a collab. I want to do a portrait of you because I love you, but I also want to do a collab in the studio. Let's just see what comes out. So we had nothing planned that day. It was just us hanging out as we do. And we went into the studio. It's funny because these are all within a very, very close period and very early on in my career. You really went, you stalked.
Deep cuts.
You stalked.
Deep cuts.
So so we did this in the studio and I just loved the collab. I loved how much freer he made me in this, like in the way I painted. And I was like, this is really inspiring to me. And I really loved working with him. We worked together on pretty much like everything, and we always work together. And he's a musician in the Rubens, so I'll go shoot them. But he's a mainly music orientated. He's a guitar player, but he's a brilliant painter. And I don't think he knew he was a brilliant painter, but over time he's realised he actually really is. Anyway, so we did this. And this we did 2 weeks before I had my first meeting with Tones.
Cool.
When I met Tones, it was before Dance Monkey had hit #1. So Dance Monkey had started doing really well on Triple J. So I remember like it was doing well. But I met Tones and I loved Tones instantly. Like it was just a brilliant meeting, but we only had 2 days for the shoot. Okay. Which usually I've got 2 weeks. So I remember we were there.
2 weeks to plan it all, conceptualize, or for the shoot?
For the shoot to happen.
Yeah, as in like you needed to figure it all out.
We had a meeting in 2 days. We had the shoot. Understood. So we had to figure it out pretty much on the spot with a meeting with Marietta. So we were at Sony in the room, me, Marietta, Tones, and we were like, we need to do a shoot. We want like quite a few looks. And I remember we were in the room and Tones was showing me the kids are coming, and it was a really like dun 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 dun, and like it's a really like it's got grit and it's got like coolness and like a bit punk, and it's got like the kids are coming, and like it just felt like and I was like, oh, this has real like gusto to it. So I was like, this is really exciting. And because I'd just done this collab with Zach, I was like, what do you think of this look? This was just something we did for fun. What do you think of this?
So was this one of the first times this had happened?
Yes. Like I'd painted, I'd been painting in the background, and it's something that I used to create the sets just naturally because I had painted and I knew the medium a little bit and like,
But actually bringing it all the way down?
I think I'd brought it down before, but I hadn't done it in that rough way. Cool. And like in that kind of less rigid way. Yep. And I remember showing Tones, and Tones was like, that's exactly the vibe. And I was like, we know the vibe. Cool. And so there's a black and white artwork with the kids are coming everywhere. That was used across all the Dance Monkey assets when it was kind of coming out because that was the EP. And that was sort of from that meeting where we were both like, and Tones has a really strong visual identity and always has, and has really, really strong sense of who she is. And so it was great that I had that fresh in my mind. And I was like, this feels like the vibe of the sound. Yeah. Is this the vibe of your look? And she was like, yes. And so we did that with the kids coming black and white. And also, once again, with this. Like, it's not natural to me just to be like, and at the time, like, she'd just begun. So, like, everything we did, I was like, we only have time to buy a black outfit from Kmart and I'll put yellow tape on it. Like, that's just yellow tape. And, like, we were just painting the background and it was just all, like, chaos. Yes. But the chaos felt so exciting to me because Zach had lit that fire in me like 2 weeks before. Yeah, wow. And then Miles is a friend who's a drummer for a lot of bands, and he'd reached out and he had a solo project, and it was around that exact same time I was like, I just want to push this. I want to feel that like just freedom of like randomness, you know, like with the dots, and like I just want to cover everything and like have a play with that, and so that came from that. So
And
there we go. Funny that you picked them all. That's a really that's like a 3-week period right there.
That's crazy, because we were talking a little bit before about kind of the combination or the finding harmony between like what the artist might bring and what you might bring.
Yes.
I'm curious to understand your perspective of to what extent are creative people, artists, often musicians, stepping into your world as opposed to you constructing a world based on what you think their world is. Because when I see your work, you have often such a strong world that you've created, which I guess sounds like was born kind of out of this collaboration with Zach.
Yeah.
I suspect that you're always responding to them. Like that's part of the equation. But I still get the sense that they are stepping into your visual world. So can you tell me about that relationship?
I honestly can say I've never thought about myself when I'm working with a musician. I'm not thinking about my own ideas. I do think about what I would love to achieve, like, you know, with the Cat Empire, and like I'd love to put more detail in. Like because there's so much symbolism in their work. But that's about them. Like I don't it's really music driven. And I remember the first time I went to a gig, I was like, what is this? Like, what are these people in a band making music? Like, and it just like, it lights up a whole world in you, and you kind of go like, wow.
Okay,
and like,
so you're responding to the music.
Completely.
Cool,
and
cool,
like,
cool.
I have like, it comes from my eye and it comes from my hand, but it's completely the music. So if I hear a song, it's like I will create the world for that song and for that artist. So I guess they do step into the world that I've created, but it ends up, I guess, objectively being like a 50-50 world.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't consider myself when I'm making something for a song.
Yeah,
like with
cool.
this one, it's like every element in that is about something that was in that music. And like, I really love just sitting there listening over and over again. I have to really love it.
Yeah, sweet.
Like I have to really fall in love with the song and the artists and the music, and really want it. Like you were saying before, if you got to want to, because you put your damn back into it. Like,
Indeed.
I don't know when the burnout began, like maybe 10 years ago, but like it's every time I'm like on the brink of being like, how, like I've been working from 8 a.m. till 3 a.m. every day for like 10 plus years. How the hell am I going to get through another day? And then some artist sends me some song and I'm like,
let's go!
and I'm like, I don't know where it comes from, but I'm like, shit, this is just magic. And like, it just gives me, I don't know why, but it is the energy. So I would say the piece doesn't exist, the world doesn't exist without the energy that artist has brought with their music.
I want to also touch on, we film or photograph or visually kind of capture people a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And even when I view your stuff, which is obviously a photo, it's so immediate. Our relationship to cameras just as human beings often are like, there's a camera there, like it's scary. How do you approach, say, as soft as this might sound, like making someone feel comfortable, making someone feel confident, making sure they have a good day, like just all of the human stuff that comes with them being like the subject but not feeling or even the object but never feeling like the object, like always feeling human. Like imagine a lot of it just probably comes naturally, but have you ever thought about that now that you've done it for a while, just making sure that...
I think I've thought about it now, but I've always had the thing. My studio's kind of started in my lounge room.
Okay.
And because I never thought this would be a job, ever. And so I set up a studio in the lounge room and people would come over. I'm just going to have a sip of water.
Should make a sipping sound. Make a sipping sound. No, that's a swallowing sound. A sipping sound.
Oh.
I was trying to... Don't. Penis.
That was evil.
Sorry. That's all I got. Continue.
Yes, I never thought it'd be a job. So my studio started in my living room, and when I was living at home, so Mum would be like, "Hello," we're Italian.
We'd like to sit down.
Need anything? And Dad would be like, "Hello, how's it going?" People would come home and it was just, at that point, it was just friends. It was not a professional setting by any means. But by beginning that way, I was welcoming people into my house and I was welcoming them into my living room. And I think that mentality has stayed the same. I'm like, welcome to the living room. I want to host people. I want them to have the snacks they like. If Neil Finn once hit, I saw in an interview from 12 years ago that Neil Finn likes papaya with fresh lime. I was like, well, if he's coming in, he's getting papaya with fresh lime. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel comfortable
That's awesome.
from them, and considered, because that's just what you want when somebody comes to your house. And if someone's coming to my studio, you learn pretty quickly. I remember a girl came in one time and passed out the minute she walked through the door. She was that nervous, and I was like, that was really early on. I was like, don't you worry, girl, we got this,
Yeah.
But also, it's not, I think by the time someone gets there, it's really just about the idea. And it's we are both in this together. I'm in a vulnerable place because I don't know if this idea is going to work until it works. You're in a vulnerable place because you're in front of a camera. So it's we're both in this crap together. Let's figure this out. You help me, I'll help you. It's not a power thing. I think people think there's you've got the power, you got the camera. You don't. You're just I'm scared, you're scared, let's come on, let's do this together. And
I'm scared, you're scared.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's this kind of it's not, of course they should feel comfortable. And also it's not, I think people think that, I think part of the scary thing about being in front of a camera is that people think that you're judging them. I think literally, if you're a nice person, which everyone I work with is, you get in front of the camera, I'm like, wow, so stunning. Okay, let's go. This is great. But actually, it's not I'm not really looking at their appearance. I'm not really looking at their pose. I'm looking at how do we make this image come to life.
Cool.
And so it's not, I'm not focused on you or your body or your face or a pimple that you've got. That's literally the last thing I'm seeing. I'm seeing how is this going to come together.
Okay, that's cool. So looking, say, to the furthest left is such a different and kind of unconventional pose or action, let's say. And so can you tell me a little bit about that?
I think, this is so early on. This is such a blast from the past.
Okay,
but I
great.
remember Miles was we were listening to his music and I remember just being are you we were talking about the fact that he's just pretty chill and just loves to have a tea.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, let's do that. It was as simple as that. And
Yeah.
with Tones, I just love the way that she posed and I was like, go for it, do what works there. With Zach, it was about, also I like to, by creating this world around the artist, it fully takes the pressure off. I don't need you to pose you don't need to be her, I'm you, it's all there. You just do you.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, it's going to look cool. So the more chill you are, the better. Yeah.
And so Tones, you said that you kind of came in as Dance Monkey was rising, and obviously, I don't know if it's still the most streamed song ever on Spotify or something insane, but at least at some point it was, if it isn't still. So what was that experience for you? Again, a long kind of standing collaboration, or a long, just a period of time. How did that grow? Tell me about the growth of that relationship.
It's really special. It's a special one. And like they're all, every collaboration is genuinely I've loved. Like I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, and I've loved it. I think the special thing about Tones is I hadn't experienced that astronomic rise. I'd experienced a lot of rises, but not to the speed and degree that it happened. And at the time as well, I'd just done a job for Facebook. So there was a shift in the waters of like, when I went into a room, people stopped doubting that I could do something.
Yeah.
I was always had to prove that I could do something, and I had to be like, this is my plan, I can do it, I swear I can do it. Whereas what happens with the astronomic rise is people stop asking you if you can do something.
Totally.
They're like, oh, this artist is astronomically rising, so you can probably do it.
Yes.
So that was the shift for me. But the thing about Tones, and like, she's incredibly special in this, is that when she finds people that she loves working with, she holds them very close and treats them well. And so with this, like, I remember a few weeks after this shoot, Rolling Stone were like, we want Tones on the cover. And Tones said, you'll use Gigi. And they were like, oh no, we've got another photographer. And she was like, if you don't use Gigi, I'm not going to be on the cover.
Wow.
Really not many artists would do that. And I was like, no, please be on the cover. You have to be on the cover. Like, I support you. Please go, shine. Like, don't worry about me. I'm good, but Rolling Stone ended up being like, okay. So I shot my first Rolling Stone cover because of Tones. And like, since then, that's not the only time that's happened. It'll be like, like she's been like, sure, I'll do this. Like with Cosmo, like I'll do the cover of Cosmo. Gigi's got to shoot it. And they're like, okay, cool. So they've used me, and then now I've done a lot of Rolling Stone covers because of of that. And once again, it's that just the trust that people have. And like we've sort of done every kind of photography now as well. But I'm very honest when sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And she's like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, as long as you know I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I will give it my best crack, but I just want you to know I haven't done this. There's no faking. There's no pretending like, oh, I've got this. Like I'm so good.
Which
at
is
it.
obviously why she trusts you.
Well, probably.
Because when you don't fake anything, then
no.
it's
And
almost...
she's very good at seeing, like, she's a smart woman. But
That's super cool.
So that's been special.
It's easy to see that we can kind of be adversarial or against each other as creative humans, as in just generally speaking. But when creative people have each other's back, kind of that vibe is
And it's rare
amazing.
for someone to say, I liked this experience. I'm now going to bring them up with me 1,000 levels off the ground.
Yeah. So cool. Let's do a fucking outro.
Glass
Mint.
and water stick.
See you next time.
Oh, wait, one more. Roll back. Here, ready? Take it away, guy.